What I want to do is spend a minute here and give you some guidance, some lessons that I've seen through my previous students, as well as teaching this course for 4 years. What I think are kind of success points. What people have done that have been successful that I think, and not successful, that could actually help you in this class and even throughout the safety and security leadership program. And again, this comes from marking hundreds of papers, working with dozens of students throughout my 4 years here teaching at GW. So the first kind of point is all papers and presentations should pique my interest. This means that I'm a pretty well informed I'm pretty well informed on the terrorism issue, but I still learn things. I still read the newspapers, and I read Economists and other magazine articles, and I'm informed on this article. Your presentations and papers should do the same. It should not be regurgitating the readings and my lectures back to me. I know what I've said. So it should have an angle and have details that actually inform me and inform your classmates. A paper should have a strong thesis statement. Do not make me fish for your thesis statement. I should not have to go through several iterations to figure out what you're trying to prove. Your thesis statement should be right there, first or second paragraph. You have to underline it or bold it. It should be blatantly clear from the onset. Use headings and subheadings in papers. This will help you guide your argument. This will help you make it a little bit more clear for your classmates, as well as me when I'm reading your paper and I'm kind of going through your argument. In fact, when I read papers, the first thing I do is I'll read the whole paper, or at least look at the headings and subheadings to see where you're going with your analysis. So use them in your papers. Even if these papers are only 2,000 words, 1,800 to 2,000 words, they should still be part of your thesis or part of your analysis. Each sentence, paragraph should introduce new evidence. These papers that I assign are pretty short. And I can tell you right now that if you are struggling to make the 1,800 word paper requirement, you have not done your research and you have not done your analysis. The opposite should be true. You should have more words, and you should be worried about trying to cut down the papers so it's more succinct and more compact. When I say each sentence should introduce new evidence, again, everything should be a new introduction of evidence to back up your thesis. And every sentence, every paragraph should earn its way onto your paper. If you're not thinking that way, again, you probably haven't done your homework enough for the paper. For participation discussion boards, you should have kind of a 360 view. What I mean by that is it should incorporate the lectures, the readings, current events, and personal analysis. So not just regurgitating the lecture, regurgitating the readings, but you should be able to fuse, again, the readings with the lecture, with your personal analysis, with what's going on and currently, and that will give you the most points on your discussion boards. Every paper presentation should have solid recommendations. These are all policy papers, and your recommendations should flow from your argument. Write these papers as if you're making recommendations to senior federal official, National Security Council, senior state official, or even a municipality or a city official if you're working on Homeland Security at that level. But the recommendation should flow from your arguments that you made in your thesis. Do not give me a history lesson. This should be number one. I have seen this too many times, and if you're doing this in a presentation, I will embarrass you, and I will say, you're giving me a history lesson, move on. If you've written this in a paper, I will write it in big red letters that you have given me a history lesson. You have not given me analysis or policy recommendation or argument or thesis. I have Red papers, your first paper is going to be, what is terrorism, what is not terrorism, and a lot of people choose the Fort Hood incident, and they try and say that is an act of terrorism. I've had people write on a 5-page paper, give me 3 pages of what happened at Fort Hood in 2009. If you do that, you will be starting out with a C on the paper. I know what happened at Fort Hood. I know what happened pretty much with all the terrorist groups that you're going to choose from. Do not give me the encyclopedia/Wikipedia, this is what happened, or this is the history of this group, or this is a timeline of events. If it doesn't prove your thesis, and you just give me history, you will not get a good grade. So I can't emphasize that enough. Do not give me laundry lists. I would rather you focus your paper. Let's say you're writing a paper on intelligence, post 9/11 intelligence reforms. I do not want 15, 20 things the intelligence community can do to defeat counterterrorism. I would rather you focus on 2 or 3 things and focus in detail on those things than just list out a bunch of recommendations or a bunch of unconnected analysis that draws your points. Again, focus on 2 or 3 issues and drive those points home. Know the difference between plagiarism and research. I have that hyperlinked, and I want to bring this article up. If it comes up, there we go. So this was, if you've been reading the Times or reading the newspapers, a senator from Montana produced a War College paper for the Army War College, and he did it back in 2007, 2008, or 2007, and he only now got busted for plagiarism. What he tried to do was he tried to kind of get away with plagiarism and cite his paper heavily to try and attribute to an author. I encourage you to just take this website, and I'll send the link out to look at this, but just a couple of examples so you know what the difference. So here, his topic sentence. He took word for word from a foreign affairs document. He cites it, but if you're taking something word for word, you need to put it in quotes. This is plagiarism. This is not attributing language properly, because he takes it, again, word for word from this. I would also add that if you are taking your first sentence word for word from another document or another source, your first sentence on a paper, you didn't do enough work on your paper. You're essentially doing a cut and paste job. He continues this, again, using word for word here on this paper, and he cites it. And what he does is he's trying to cover his ass and say, I didn't plagiarize it, I cited the source. That's not good enough. That is still plagiarism, because he is not quoting it, and he's obviously using a cut and paste job to quote to get his point across. As you go down, again, he continues to cut and paste from various sources. He cites them, but he is not using enough of his original analysis here. Here, he uses an exact quote, no citation. That is definitely plagiarism, and that is plagiarism that will get you severely sanctioned and possibly kicked out of the program if you do something like that. Again, same points here. He's using copy and pasting documents from various sources, and he's not quoting them properly. And then here, he takes whole paragraphs without attributing them. He does that again in this section here, and then an entire page. This will get you kicked out of GW if you do something like this. Copy and paste an entire page without the original, without attribution. That will get you kicked out. And then he goes on again. He's using large quoting from sources. Bottom line is that not only is he plagiarizing here, but this paper lacks any original analysis, any thought, uh, anything that could be construed as his own ideas. And he goes down on this. This is properly how you're supposed to cite large passages. You're supposed to indent them and put the font smaller so people know that you took this whole thing out of another source. I will say that if you're doing this on one of my papers, you're already wrong, because my papers are not long at all. And if you're taking entire passages out of another source, you've probably not put enough originality in it. So just keep that in mind as you write. So know the difference again between plagiarism and what is plagiarism and what is research. And then finally, read current events. New York Times, Foreign Policy. Always have articles. Bring them into your discussion sections. Bring them on the discussion boards. They usually are related to the course material. So if there's any questions or issues, please let me know. And I hope this was helpful.